Odd little gem, great. Not much moving around, folks. The pensions. There aren't many birds flying. Probably birds here with a bunch of. Excuse me, duck. What's up, woodpecker? I'm getting with hoppers up here, making got a nibble on something. Hello, special K-bar. driving around a zoo and the animals haven't been let out of their cages. Oh boy. Take Mangwa. No one's driven Mangwa. Mangwa down to the river and then go back up, zigzag. This stage of the game without any animals moving around, without anyone finding tracks. Kind of 6 to 1, half a dozen of the other really. Black Tan Pride and Lion are way up in the north, 2 big males are way down in the south. No leopard have moved around, or at least that for some unknown reason. All the leopard are on a kill, on their kills, or not moving or sleeping, curled up like cats usually are, maybe. Sun's coming out now. Elephants are up north. I did see a couple of buffalo deep in the bush earlier on, but they were with the tip of their horns, top of their bottom, showing above the grasses. The weather does play a role, but even when we have good weather, we can drive around for 3 hours and see nothing. What that means is that all the vehicles, crowds of sightings up in the north, none of them come driving down here. So I suppose in itself gives us free rein. And then there are those times when we're lucky enough to have something down there. So chance that we will see something. Run a bend and there'll be something in the road, and then we have it also. Wishful thinking. Positive. remote chance leopard will pop out of the bush somewhere. Gold egg cake. It's a cold day, like I can't even show you an insect or a reptile or just to say, silver cluster leaf, guarri bush. Silver cluster leaf, guarri bush. Oh, looky, there's a combritum stuck in between. And a scraggly acacia. Tree.
Yeah.
Well, now, vulture sitting here could mean two things. Could mean the obvious, that there's a kill somewhere. Could mean nothing, because there are no thermals and vultures can't fly without thermals. It takes a lot of energy to get that body up in the air. So must be sitting in the tree. Might be something down deep in the drainage line. But it's more like just a vulture sitting on a tree waiting for thermals so that it can go somewhere else. Would it be nice to have gotten a closer look at him or her to see whether it had been feeding. The thing is that there are no lion here. So there are no lion kills in this area. There's a lion on north and south, southwest of it. Considerable distance, in fact. White-backed vulture is not likely to be sticking around on a leopard kill. They're not going to be hanging around for a leopard kill. And let's start some more elephants up north. It's like we're in kindergarten. The high school kids up north that get to see the animals. Be a tiny spot on the camera. juvenile martial eagle on a tree. The first big eagle we've seen other than the tawny one. And it's also blocked. We can only see its white legs and its white head. Just bend down briefly. Oh, there she goes. Sure. That's who was flying. It wasn't a white-backed vulture. It was that juvenile martial eagle. Can you see this black-collared varmint in the tree here? The dead tree. Flying from the back for a big bird and its human. But now I get to see it nicely. Can you turn around, varmint? I want to see that red head of yours. There you go. Red face. Bye-bye, varmint. Well spotted. Everything good your side? I haven't heard from Eric, so I'm wondering if everything good. Yo. No name given. Nom de plume. Alias. Green name. Email name. Rocking Nana. Wait, I think I know. Could that be... No, that's Callum's nonna. Rocking Grand. Oh, there's a buffalo. Gave birth to 4 warthogs. All of the sardines. 2 species at once. Rocking Nana wants me to tell you about a typical day at home. No such thing. Yeah, that's all we can see of him. A bit forward. Is it good? Not much we can do with it. Typical day at home for me. Well, it's the bush, so there isn't really a typical day because every day is different. But I generally wake up, make some tea, sit outside, or go for a walk around, look for tracks. Sit and watch the birds with my bird bath. And during the day I alternate between reading and a bit of writing and a bit of tracking and a bit of elephant watching and a bit of whatever I can find. I spend time with whatever animals I can find. Walk around with my camera looking for insects and spiders and interesting things. I have a bit of a disadvantage at home. I don't have internet connection. And until I get a battery for my laptop, I can't really work on my laptop. Move on. Back into the buffalo in the middle of the bush. Not really good. While I should be looking for work and I should be actively marketing myself and trying to find employment, I can't really because I have to go to town for that. Town is About a 120 kilometer round trip, and I can only do that once every 10 days or so. Financially, I can't do it very often. Also costs money to go into the gate at the reserve. So I'm limited to how much time I can spend in town when I go and buy supplies. When I'm in town, I tend to check emails and send out a few. Ultimately should spend a lot more time online than I do, and I can't, so I don't. I sometimes sit and watch birds. It's different. I never really have a typical day. I never really have a set routine other than my wake up, my tea, my breakfast, my medicine, and and I eat when I'm hungry. Sometimes I don't sleep well because I'm too much noise in my head, so I might nap during the day but sleep during the night. There's never really a typical day for me, no such thing, really. Because I can't tell you much more than that. Sometimes I go and spend time with Clinton and Diane and with baby Simon and Thornybush Lodge. I want to help Clint with things. I want to help him set up a walking trail around there because they have leopards come in, but they don't have big five. So we want to put in a walking trail. We've got a beautiful cottage on the river. We're going to do a little bit of a walk along the river. And then, of course, there are the times when I go up to Salati and I do work in Salati, or I'm hoping that I will do some more work up in Tanzania again this year, later this year. So far, it doesn't look like it. They've changed things up there now. I'm supposed to go and build a camp, but it didn't work out. I haven't found water yet to be able to build the camp. Let's find out what's happening with that. Anyway, let's move on. Next question, please. Okay, I didn't mean your tail or anything else underneath your tail. Quite sheltered down here, really. Can't feel the wind at all. Slowly he disappears into the riparian vegetation. Goodbye. Do we go? Yes. Go ahead, Aaron. Kevin in Boston, what will I take from Thornybush? Well, I think that's pretty obvious. Really amazing elephant experiences that I've had here. That's about it. I don't think I can say on air what else I will take from Thornybush. I don't mean physically take, I mean emotionally and my ideas and impressions. Funny enough, it hasn't really been any different to what I've always thought of Thornybush. Always lived and worked around Thornybush. Maneleti, Derbycan, Kimbawati, of course I live up there. The Thornybush has always been this entity that I've always driven past. But I've never really had much of a desire to be here because it's self-contained. I'm not really much of a person for self-contained reserves, to be honest. I've just been spoiled by being in some of Africa's biggest and wildest and most amazing wildlife areas, that to come to for me, I'm sorry to say, for me it's a tiny little 14,000 hectare cage. That's just being brutally honest. That's my first, because I've, as I say, I've been spoiled. Even though the animals here do engage in all their natural behavior and everything else, and it's big enough to have herds of elephants and lion and stuff. Hyena were everywhere last night. Salati Game Reserve, where I do a lot of work, is also enclosed, although it's about 2.5 times the size of this, and there are no lodges in there. When I'm driving, trying to Salati, it's virtually only me. There is a lion study group called Leo. They're monitoring the lion that are there. Really beautiful big male lion that runs that pride up in Salati. And it is really beautiful terrain. It's beautiful big granite rocky outcrops, candelabra trees, rock things. It's a stunning reserve. Stunning. It can never be part of a bigger area because it's bordered on all three sides by very main, I wouldn't say highways, but main roads between cities, towns. And I have to be honest, even driving around Salati, you can drive around for 3 hours and not even see an impala sometimes. But it's still, it's a consolation that I don't have to spend my life there. But when I go home after this, I'm going to be a huge sigh of relief knowing that there's going to be a fence within hundreds of kilometers of me. The closest fence will be the western boundary, which is 60 kilometers away. The eastern boundary, there's no fence, it's all the way into Mozambique. Northern boundary is a few hundred kilometers up to the Limpopo River and into Zimbabwe. And to the south, a couple of 100 kilometers to the Crocodile River. And so when I'm on my own, I don't have to see animals all day, every day. I mean, I'm not precious. Yes, I'm precious, I suppose, in a way. I mean, it's more a case of, we're going to live drive. I want to show you things. I want to have stuff on camera. Why are we doing it? And it gets a little frustrating for me because there's nothing moving around. Until we bump into the leopard in a few minutes. That hope that we're going to bump into a leopard any minute now. Maybe there's stray elephant bull that's come down this way. We haven't found his tracks yet. Always the hope of something that keeps one going. But of course, you're just seeing this through the camera lens. I'm seeing this 180 degrees, and it does get a little, I suppose in a sense, it gets a little bit disconcerting in that I know that it's a rare opportunity for you to be able to witness some of the things that happen here in the bush in Africa, and it's, as I say, it's disconcerting because I can't find anything for you. So, ends up we need to talk, need to answer questions, you can email me. And speaking of which, go ahead, Aaron. Morning, Charlie, in Cleveland, Ohio. Is there a reason why the elephants are more to the north? Is it because of the cold weather, or is it... There's absolutely no reason, Charlie, other than the fact that there's very little down here. I mean, they do eat some of the bark of the silver cluster leaf. They eat... I expected them to come further down because of the river. I expected them to spend more time on the river. I was told that in the winter they come down to the river, and we had them briefly for a few days on the river. There's actually no specific reason why they're up north, other than habitat. There's a greater variety. This habitat down south is quite homogeneous. It doesn't vary very much, as you've noticed. There is an overabundance of silver cluster leaf, Terminalia siluritia, which for the most part is unpalatable. The leaves are very, very high in tannin. Elephants probably use the bark only medicinally, because they certainly don't feed on it that often. And very few cases, when they came down south, south of the river, where I suppose we can turn around and head south, go and find our 6 zebra and 8 wildebeest and herd of impala and see what they're up to. There's a bunch of acacia niloticus down there, because that's an area that's only recently been incorporated into Thornybush, and they're starting to feed on those acacias. But this kind of habitat isn't really conducive to large numbers of animals, especially down towards the river where the grasses are very thick. And I'm not a proponent for fire, but there are places here that could do with a bit of a burn. Quite a hot burn. Get rid of some of this understory. A lot of the copper-ting Terminalia. Make way for greener grasses. Maybe, I don't know. Unfortunately, it is what it is. No idea why the elephants prefer it up north the way they do. Hoping in the last couple of weeks, we're hoping that this filter gets set up onto the mountain quite soon. A special piece of equipment that allows us, that will let our signal be picked up. At the moment there's so much up on the mountain in terms of antennas and, well, there's just so much radio antennas and all sorts of things. That's probably very noisy frequency wise. That is why we can't broadcast directly to the mountain. But there's this piece of equipment that's supposedly going to filter only our signal. I don't know how it works. I'm not a technical person, but it is going to allow us maybe a slightly better range. So for maybe the last couple of weeks of the live drives, we might get to some of the areas we haven't seen, and then we'll be able to see why animals prefer these areas. Probably because the habitat is different, open grasslands and places where there's a greater variety of vegetation. Of course, we're then going to have to contend with all the game drive vehicles. That's going to be the caveat, in that by the time we get up north, there's going to be a lineup of 10 vehicles for a cycling type of thing. So we have to take our turn like everybody else. And generally we sort of fall in the back of the queue because guests have to see things first. So, we're holding a death note. But then I have been saying that for a while now. I've got now we'll head back down on Zombaya. Find something. Primate shouted at me. There was a monkey in a tree behind us from Britain. What's wrong, Nala? Monkeys are making him nervous. I was watching the monkeys in the Nyala, I wasn't watching the antenna. The monkeys, they're not alarming, but they're clicking. I'm not going to keep still. There's one. I'm not going to keep still for it. And we're looking into the sun for the rest of them. Nyala Bull's lucky. He's got a troop of monkeys to look out for him. So we're heading to this section of Nyaleti Road that nobody's driven this morning. The fence line, even if we drive down the fence line. like sometimes happens that just in the last minutes of drive suddenly there's something. When the Ellies cross the fence, do they come back across the fence, and how often is the fence repaired? I don't know, I can't answer that question because I don't know the answer to it. It would appear that the fences aren't repaired that often, because I went past that fence looking for that cheetah and lion 2 days ago, and that fence is in a terrible state. So that might be because the elephant's been busy. So I really don't know. You know, once again, it's the same as the question with the road. I really don't know, Charlie. It's not part of my... I'm not involved in any of that. And being a temporary situation that we're in here in Thornybush, I haven't the faintest idea of any of the things regarding management of the reserve with regards to roads and fences. So I'm brushing off questions, sorry. Just because I don't know. I would imagine if there's a bad break in the fence, then that gets fixed pretty quickly. I would imagine they patrol. Anyways, moving on. Sorry, thinking you were from Cleveland, but maybe it's your name that made me think that. The way it gets read over the radio. So, nothing happening here on your Lady Drive. Nothing along the fence line. Although maybe we could drive. Where are we? Go back to. Oh, not drive the fence line. Quite a fire hazard this year. Talk on the radio at once, boys. Either driving the fence line or this. The best road. The worst road ever. starboard, forktail drongo. Forktail drongo. See a little bit of a bird party. Not much. Morning, James, again. Very good. Wow, the drive's limited to 2.5 hours each. And then I can't remember the rest of the question. Well, there was more of a statement, but well, it's 3 hours in the morning, 6:30 to 9 our time, and it's 2.5 hours in the evening because we lose light. As the days are getting longer, we'll be able to stay out a little bit longer. Theoretically, we can stay out till probably around 7. But they try and limit the drive to morning and evening to the specific drive time. So that gives the animals, it's not so much giving the roads a break, it's giving the animals a break from the pressure of the vehicle. Because as you know, or have heard, when they find lion or leopard, for the 3 hours that the drive is out, those animals are permanently with vehicles. And if the drive times were extended, then those animals would never get a break. And as much as the guys try not to impact on the animals and their hunting abilities, and as much as one tries not to interfere, it does. There's no two ways about it. Some guys, even though some guys will do something when animals are on a hunt that disturbs the prey or disturbs the predator. So it's imperative that there's times during the day when, for most of the day and most of the night, when there aren't any vehicles driving around, especially in a place like this. You know, obviously places like Kruger, there's people driving around from sun up till sundown, and all animals have to do there is move away from the road and they don't get seen. Here it's a different story because animals can be viewed off-road when certain animals can. So it's more the Thornybush rule that after 9:30 in the morning no vehicles are out driving until 3:30 in the afternoon. At the moment it's dry season, so it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. As the days get longer, the drives will be heading out 3:30 and then eventually at 4 o'clock in the afternoon when the sun's going down after 7 in summer. Thornybush rules, really, which I have to agree with. I have to be honest. With the amount of pressure these animals have from vehicles during game drive time, it is important that they get a chance to just be free of vehicles for a while. I have now almost driven every single road. We come back to Albedo Pan. Limits of our center of gravity there. almost every single road north of the river that we could drive this morning, bar one or two. We'll get some red-billed woodpeckers, green woodpeckers. Hopefully they'll stay there. There's an adult feeding a youngster. Maybe they're going to sing for us. There's a youngster at the bottom, two adults at the top. Now known as green woodpecker. Long slender beaks that they probe into holes, as you can see. That's a bucket of a front-end loader dropping. Vehicle busy somewhere. Grader or front-end loader. Not like a front-end loader with a bucket dropping. Probably working just outside the reserve. Not a single cat walking around in the entire area that we have moving. This afternoon we'll spend a bit of time on the other side of the river, the southern side. We only have like 2 roads there anyway, 3 roads. Maybe. But maybe if we find the wildebeest or the zebra, maybe we'll just try and spend time with them, because it's, I don't know, just bird in the hand is worth two in the bush kind of principle. We've got an animal and we've got a good view of it, might as well spend time with it, like we did with the giraffe yesterday. Impala. Probably say goodbye with the Impala. Come out of the old floodplain, lying down. Hope I don't disturb them. There are some animals in Thornybush. Well, luckily we didn't get disturbed by rain too much, only a couple of minutes worth. Enough to just dirty the car a little bit more. So thank you everyone, thank you for your patience and thank you for joining us this morning. Thanks too for the questions that came through. Hoping things will improve by this afternoon, and hoping we'll see some more of Africa's critters on our afternoon drive. Hope you're going to join us later. Have a lovely day. There's a fly on the camera. Anyway, sorry, distracted by a fly. So, yeah, hopefully the weather clears up a little bit. We have better weather this afternoon, and we'll see what we can find for you. So, sleep well if you're going to bed. Have a lovely day if you're on the outside of the world. What are we on? Friday? I think so. Happy Friday, IF and all. And we'll see you a little bit later. Bye all.